On today's The Doctor Is In, the topic is hydration. And while it's always a good idea to try to stay hydrated, it's especially important during the hot and humid summers here on the First Coast. And many people make the key mistake when it comes to staying hydrated. They wait until they're thirsty to start drinking. Dr. Ackerman is one of the First Coast's leading doctors. He's here today to talk about dehydration. Thank you so much for being here once again, Dr. Ackerman. We appreciate it. So we're talking earlier, the daiquiri, probably not the best option when you compare that to water.
No, but it'll help you stay hydrated.
There is water in it.
Right.
It just depends on, how you're getting it.
It's so hot out all over the country right now.
Well, it is. Isn't that unbelievable? We were just talking about from the Great Lakes all the way up to New England. I mean, they're talking about triple digit highs. And it's just...
And humid with high heat indexes where people sweat a lot and get dehydrated very easily. Here, luckily, we're used to it, and a lot of us know how to handle it. But up there, I'm awfully concerned.
Exactly, they're not used to seeing things like that. So, listen, we do deal with a lot of heat and humidity here. Water obviously is essential, but what exactly is it doing for our bodies that makes it so essential?
Well, water is very important for our bodies because our bodies are made up primarily of water. About 70% of our body is water, and these fluids in our body, which are mostly water, serve a range of purposes. The obvious is controlling body temperature. Also, it controls our heart rate, depending on how well hydrated we are. Our heart rate is adjusted for that reason. Blood pressure, metabolism. Without being properly hydrated, without having enough fluids in our body will shut down, and we'll have a diminishment of metabolism.
So you always hear, drink 8 glasses of water a day. That's what you need. Make sure that that's what you're getting, and you'll be fine. Is that necessarily true? Well,
8 glasses of water a day is a good rule of thumb. It can't hurt, but that's not really the magic. There's no magic about 8 glasses of water a day. It's good though. You want to flush your body out, and water is great for that. But every person needs a different amount of water to stay hydrated. Someone who's a lot larger needs more water than someone who's smaller. And a general rule is to be a little bit more dynamic and not just static and say 8 glasses, but a little bit more dynamic. And one thing you could look at is how often are you urinating? Because if you're not urinating very often, then you're not getting water. You're dehydrated. If your urine is dark in color, that's not good. It means it's concentrated. You're not getting enough water. A friend of mine has a company where they manufacture boxes, and it's a big warehouse kind of manufacturing facility. In the summer, it gets very hot, and they don't want their workers getting sick or falling down the job. So what they do in the restrooms, they have a whole color chart. And so when people go to the bathroom, they look at the urine. They encourage their staff to look at the color of the urine to gauge whether or not they're getting enough hydration. And they're encouraging their workers to drink a lot of water and stay properly hydrated. But it's not just water that is good for hydration. Foods also give us a lot of hydration.
Watermelon.
Right.
Peaches, would be the first one that would come to my mind.
That's a good one. But other ones you don't necessarily think of, like lettuce and broccoli and other vegetables, they have very high water content as well.
Okay. Athletes, and I was an athlete back in high school. I need to get a little more active than anyway, I'm getting up there in years.
You look athletic to me.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I give the appearance. But so for athletes, is it better for them to be drinking water when they're exercising a lot? Or are those sports drinks, do they have something in them that make them a little bit more beneficial?
So athletes and people who exercise and exercise such that they sweat, their hydration needs are higher. And water is generally the best way to replace lost fluids. But for athletes that are doing very intense exercise and very intense athletics, for people that are exercising intensely, meaning more than 60 minutes of intense exercise, in that situation, you may start losing electrolytes, and it's good to consider using a sports drink that has in it not just water, but also has electrolytes and also has carbohydrates to help with energy. And there's been studies that have shown that people who exercise intensely perform better when they drink these sports drinks like Gatorade or Powerade, those sort of things. And also those sort of drinks taste better, and so athletes will drink more of it, and they'll stay hydrated better. It's important also for athletes not to, as you said in the beginning, not to wait till you're thirsty to drink, but to try to stay ahead of your hydration. If you're going to be doing exercise, you want to drink some water or a sports drink before you start, and then every 10 to 15 minutes while you're exercising, get some more fluids in, so you stay ahead of the dehydration, or you stay ahead of the hydration rather, and not allow yourself to get dehydrated.
What about for athletes especially, but then for anybody who's at home that might be watching, what are the signs and symptoms that we need to be on the lookout for other than we're thirsty, because you say that is a key component of being dehydrated? What are some of the other things we should be looking for?
Well, thirst obviously is the easiest, and don't ignore that. If you're thirsty, you should drink. In my practice, a lot of my patients that have cancer aren't getting hydrated enough. They can't swallow enough fluids, and I examine them, and instead of getting a blood test to determine their hydration, there's a simple test that I do on those patients that you and our viewers can do as well to themselves to see, and that's just looking at your skin. So if you just pinch your skin up and leave go, with you and I, that skin goes right back to where it should be, and that's called elasticity. So if you dehydrate and you pull up your skin, it stays up and very slowly goes down. So that's a good sign that you're not being hydrated enough if you lose that elasticity. Also, if you dehydrate, your urine, as I said, gets dark. You're not urinating very often. You get fatigued and sleepy. If you're not getting enough hydration on a regular basis, it could lead to constipation. If you're really dehydrated, you'll stop sweating. We talked about that in one of the shows previously. That's called heat stroke.
Right, I remember,
where
yeah.
where you stop sweating, your body starts shutting down. Those are the things to be concerned about.
Last but not least, but on the flip side of things, is it possible to drink too much water? I mean, we were chatting during the commercial break about that story, and we're still trying to put our finger on whether it was water or milk, but there was a radio station where somebody had too much water and ultimately passed. I mean, so how do you know if you're consuming too much water? I mean, it's pretty hard to go to that extreme. I think that was a competition.
It's pretty unusual, but it can happen. If people that drink too much water and try to overhydrate, they dilute out their whole system, and they dilute out the electrolytes. So they drink water without the electrolytes, they dilute that out. Water causes cells to swell, and they get very, very sick.
All right, Dr. Ackerman, thanks so much for being here. We appreciate you, as always, joining us every Friday and for sponsoring this segment. And for any questions regarding today's topic or any other health questions that you might have, you can connect with Dr. Ackerman on his Facebook page by visiting facebook.com/First Coast Oncology, and you can submit your questions there.